Bethany Warren here, and you've joined us for the weekly Our Millwall fan show with the Millwall No One Likes Us Talking team, which is broadcast every Friday evening. Enjoy!
Welcome back to the 2021-22 series of the Millwall No One Likes Us Talking, our Millwall fan show, in the 8th show in our new freedom post-lockdown. I'm your host, Eamonn Barclay, and I have the No One Likes Us Talking team of Debbie Julians, Stan Godwin, and eventually Jeff Burnige when he arrives.
Not everybody likes them, but they don't care.
Well, it was another draw, but were we unlucky against the Sky Blues, or maybe lucky even? Well, from my perspective, I thought we were actually unlucky. I mean, if Bradshaw's goal, which I am convinced was not offside, despite people telling me that somebody else was standing in an offside position, were they obstructing play? No, they wasn't. And we should have come away with a 2-1 win against probably one of the best attacking sides I've seen at the Den for quite a while. They had pace, energy and everything. But we controlled it. We did let in that goal that let them in, but we came back. And I've got to say, it was more like 3 points lost to the officials than it was anything else. Still, it's another draw, and we haven't lost for quite a while now in the league. Stan, I mean, there's been a lot of comment about the price of our players, our team. It's insufficient, it's not enough, we've got to do this, we've got to do the other. And I know you've been doing some analysis in that area. Can you illuminate to our listeners?
I mean, the other week when we lost to Fulham, it's an example. Or the narrative then becomes, well, these teams have got these big budgets. We can't compete with these big budgets, and these players are quality, and etc., etc., etc. Right now, I'm not saying that Fulham are not a good side, and I'm not saying there wasn't players in there of some quality. But you see, what really bugs me is when I keep hearing this thing about, because they've got a big budget, that automatically assumes everything. Well, I've looked at some figures, and you see, and that's simply not the case, right? I mean, for example, I looked up and I looked at QPR the other day, and I asked somebody, I said, well, do you think QPR has got a bigger budget than Millwall? And straight away this person I asked said, yes, they did. And I said, well, no, they haven't as it goes. Now, I mean, the trouble is with these figures, they're slightly behind like always, because in the budget figures that I was looking at the time, Charlie Austin was not in that the calculation. Yeah, I mean, so therefore, but I mean, it does. I mean, you got this, for example. I mean, for example, last year, I mean, our total wage bill for last year was 11, according to these figures, was 11,519,040 pence. And per week, we're paying out roughly around £221,000 a week. Now, if, for example, you take QPR's, as I say, QPR, and they've got 70 players in their squad, and their budget is per year is costing him £8,539,180. Now,
Goodness.
Well, that's what I'm saying, you see, but straight away people assume that they got these big budgets. Now, I've looked at some of the players' figures. To give you an example, Bradley Dack, Dack, right? Good player, and I personally would, if he was to sign for Millwall, right, you'd think, oh yeah, great player and whatever. Now, all of a sudden, the voices of doom would then suddenly come to the fore. Well, he's on big money. Our budget wouldn't cater for him and all the rest of it. Now, Blackburn, I mean, no disrespect to Blackburn, but they are not a wealthy club. Now, I saw some figures again, and that guy on last season was on £10,000 a week. He wouldn't even be, based on the figures we got, he wouldn't even be our highest paid player. Right? Now, this is what I'm saying. So when you hear these stories,
We'll have to look at that in a bit more depth, and perhaps if you can get an article out on the social media, I think that would make good reading, Stan. But it certainly opens up your eyes to, I think, the myths that exist rather than the truth. Thanks for that. Appreciate that, Stan.
Very good.
Debbie, you were at the game on Wednesday night against Leicester City. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I thought it was a very good game. We were sitting at the table with Sean Cummings, a former Millwall goal scorer. The last time we played Leicester City, Sean scored the winning goal, actually the only goal in the FA Cup, February 2017, I believe. However, it wasn't to be a repeat performance on that night. And for the first 45 minutes, Millwall did more than hold their own. In fact, they had 2 attempts on goals that were brilliantly saved by the Leicester keeper, and some good passes and defending on Millwall's part. The second half started brightly, but were undone by a schoolboy error, so they scored that goal in 50 minutes. To make matters worse, it was scored by Lookman, the former Charlton Athletic player.
Boo hiss,
Yeah, boo hiss. Millwall tried to get an equaliser. Almost by the very, very end of the game, a great piece of work by Inacier scored for Leicester and ended Millwall's hopes.
Yeah.
Good effort against the Premiership opposition. They stood their ground. Lots of players missing.
Yeah, that's true. And interestingly, when we beat Leicester that time, the FA Cup, we were in the 3rd tier, and Leicester City were the English champions. So,
and Sean Cummings, what a great guy! What a great guy!
A very nice man. Well, we'll take a break there and listen to Bethany Warren talking about Sands United.
We know that some men can struggle to talk about how they're feeling after the death of a baby. We hope that by building trust and a common bond, by playing together as a team, many more will be able to break their silence about baby loss and help others to do the same. Sands United FC has already saved the lives of men left feeling like they had no one to turn to in their grief. Are you a father who has lost a child? Talk to Sands United. They will help. Contact them on sufclondon@gmail.com. That's sufclondon@gmail.com. They will help.
I'm Eamonn Barclay, and I'm back with a No One Likes Us talking team of Debbie Julians, Stan Godwin, and some bloke who crept in through the back door now, Jeff Burnige. Super Dads United played Sands United FC. They forgot the scoreline. It was about more. Money raised, community built, mental and physical health being improved, undoubtedly. Our first guest was a central defender who played during the 1980s and 1990s. He hailed from Kingston upon Thames. He first joined us in November 1991 for a month and kept the bench warm for a game. Eventually, he joined us in 1994 on a permanent deal from Queen's Park Rangers. He made 118 appearances in all for us, only kept the bench warm one more time and scored 2 goals. He spent nearly 7 years in all, but 5 years in that second compact before moving on to Northampton Town. He played for a number of clubs after the Cobblers and finally hung up his boots after playing for Bohemians, which is in Dublin, against Galway United in December 1999. He's also noted for the record for the quickest goal scored for Plymouth Argyle by a player on his debut until it was broken in the 12th of February 2008. I've got to say, welcome to the studio, Tony Witter.
Good evening,
all right,
everyone.
Tony.
Hi, Tony.
Welcome, Tony. Welcome.
Hey, that's good, Tony. At least they welcomed you. That's not always the case, so that's a bit of a bonus. Before I let you off to the the deadly panel. How have you coped through the pandemic experience, my friend?
Like most people, everyone's trying to keep themselves safe. But I mean, we've all been touched in some way. I'm sure somebody knows somebody, or whether it be directly or indirectly, that's had some sort of bereavement or episode. And we're the ones that are here to tell the tales. Then just be thankful.
Yeah, it certainly struck many people indeed.
So true, so true. Hi, Tony. It's Debbie here.
Hi, Debbie.
Was that month loan with a seat on the bench a strange experience with Millwall?
I'm sure you've spoken to many ex-professionals, professionals, whatever. I mean, everybody just wants to play. And I was at Queen's Park Rangers, and as Jerry Francis as I knocked on his office door one day, and he told me I was part of the picture frame for his team moving forward. That I really was just part of it, and I knew that the chances would come along, but how many I wouldn't know. I think I played one game where it was the beginning of the season, so we played Aston Villa. One of the defenders was either injured or suspended, I can't remember, and I got one game, and where I should have got many more, but that's everyone's got their entitlement. Managers think they got their players, and I just wanted to play, and I asked, and I finally got a chance to go to Millwall on loan to, maybe get a game, because I think at the time, Alan McCleary at the time was supposed to get transferred to Nottingham Forest. So it was a deal getting brokered, and it didn't happen, and then I got stuck basically there with Casey Keller at the time, who was on trial at the club, and we became very good friends after that. But yeah, I mean, it was a strange experience, but an enlightening one.
Well, I'll ask Jeff about that. So, is that right? Who are you trying to sell Alan McCleary off to?
It's absolutely news to me. Either that or 1991 is too long ago for my brain to remember.
God, dear, oh dear.
No, but that's what I was told when I came, and that was from Mick McCarthy, who was in the reserve at the time, finishing his career. So that's the story I've been told, and that's the one I'm telling.
I reckon you're right. Jeff does keep a lot under the table, mate.
I genuinely have forgotten that, Tony. I genuinely have. That's what I've told them, and I'm just repeating it as I've been told. And
absolutely.
As Tony, it's Stan here, mate. How are you?
Good evening, Stan. I'm good, mate. I'm good.
Good. I'll tell you something. Before I ask you a question, I've got to say this, because I remember when you made your debut the second time you come to Millwall, and the thing that always struck me about that is that when you got there wasn't a lot of people, apart from ones that had seen you before, but I hadn't been one of them, that didn't know who Tony Witter was. And then we was waiting for you, because you'll come out and warm up, and so we thought, right, here he is. But the thing that struck me with that, if you remember, I think you played about 80 minutes, and at the end I think he was a bit cream crackered. I remember he took you off, and as you went off, I don't know if you can remember it, but you actually got a standing ovation that day.
Yeah,
you got remember it. Yeah, I mean, and it's amazing really, because because yourself was at that time was largely unknown to most of the Millwall people in that ground that day. But no, I mean, and that's the one thing I've never ever forgotten about that.
Yeah, well, thanks for that. But up to that point, before I think I'd just come. I can't remember how long I was there. I think I was literally there a week before I made my debut. Yeah, but at the same that, the previous week I played 2 reserve games for QPR. So I was playing in front of 2 men and his dog, and then suddenly I was on a pitch in front of a crowd, and there was like you said, nobody knew me as such, apart from Mick McCarthy, and that was it. Because I played
that's right.
numerous games with Mick in the reserves, and he knew, and he pulled me before I left them and went elsewhere, and he said, if I get a manager's job, I'm coming for you wherever you are, and that's what, and they kept the word.
Anyway, what I was going to ask you, Tony, you scored 2 goals from us from central defence. Do you remember them? And can you share what happened?
One was at Plymouth. I think it was a night game. We lost. I think it was like 3-2 or something like that. Header, corner. The other one was at home. Oh, don't ask me who it was. It was at home. I think it was ball dropped in the box, came loose, and I think I rifled it into the roof from about 4 yards. That was about as much as I can remember.
That was an incredible goal for a central defender. I remember it well.
Eusebio-esque, I think it is.
Yeah.
Eusebio-esque.
Yeah. If you remember who Eusebio is, of course.
Oh, God, Eusebio. Yeah, of course I do. Yeah, but it wasn't like him, though. Nothing like him.
Oh.
Mine was a better finish.
Yeah, I reckon you're right.
Just one thing I want to say as well is I haven't seen anything of you for years and years and years, so it's great that Eamonn's got you on the programme. What I'd like you to do is tell us a little bit about some of the players that you played with once you joined in 1994. And do you think of any of them stood out for you for their ability? And do you keep in touch with any of them?
The last question first. My world of football stopped when I literally hung up my boots. And football's quite fickle. If you're in with the in crowd or you stay in football, you make friends, you keep friends. They may get you a job, they may keep you in. But as I said, it only takes somebody to fall out of favour, and there goes your livelihood. So if you're not any good at what you do, but regards to keeping in touch with anybody, the only people that I actually still talk to are the guys that I knew before I came into football, which was a guy called Les Ferdinand and a guy called Andy. We played both at QPR. We knew each other before I actually got into. I was in the non-league scene, and we knew each other before then because we all came through the non-league route. So Impy from Yeading and Hayes, and Les from Hayes as well. So that's the only two people I actually still see and talk to every now and again. But players that stood out, I'll tell you one. Here's a name for you, Jeff. Do you remember a guy called Dobie?
Tony Dolby,
yes.
a winger, left winger.
Yes. Left-footed, same time as Mark Beard, Kennedy, Ben Thatcher. They come out the same. If you say about players, I mean, I played with a few players, but he was one of the best finishers that I could say that I've seen on the training ground, but didn't quite bring that over to the actual, shall we say, when given the opportunity, first team experiences and playing, he seemed to go within himself, but he was absolutely amazing. You hear people talk about Paul Scholes being a passer of the ball and fantastic trainer and player. He took it onto the pitch as well. That's what made him so great. But Tony was one of the best finishers I could say I've trained and see, and he was amazing. Absolutely good, but, didn't quite fulfill his potential,
Yeah.
Anybody else? I mean, you mentioned Andrew Impey. He actually signed for Millwall later on, Dennis Wise signed him while... I think I've got that right, I'm sure, 2005, during my time as chairman-elect. So he did come many years later, towards the end of his career. He played for us without ever having been to the Den, because they were on their way up north to play a game, and Dennis Wise rang me and said, "Can I sign Andy Impey on loan?" And I said yes. I didn't say yes to Dennis all that often, by the way, but on that occasion I did, and he went up and played. Can't remember where the game was though. But who else can you remember? I'll tell you what I'd like to ask you. Well, were you involved when we played against Arsenal and Chelsea and QPR in that 95 Cup run?
Yeah, I do remember those games for many a reason. The Chelsea game, obviously, I think I remember that for the fighting before the game and the fighting after it, but nothing to do with the players, but the actual Millwall supporters. But the game itself, obviously beating them on penalties, and QPR one was a nice one because you'll hear of players leaving clubs and coming back to haunt them, and I thought actually during that game we done really well. I think we lost 1-0 to penalty. Willow scored the penalty 1-0.
Yeah.
Where I think handballed the ball on a cross or something like that, and we lost 1-0 at QPR. Those games were. And what was the other one? The Arsenal. That's the one that sticks out mostly because obviously we went to the late Highbury's ground and turned them over, and that was just all it is to me now is a blur because I think it was like 34,000 there. The noise, the ground. It was the Arsenal. We were expected to get beaten, and we turned them over.
Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very, very good memories. Yeah, that run, the cup run, we had a very good year, and the cup sort of like brought the team on the map for the right reasons, and then obviously, in the latter years gone, they've got to Wembley and done the thing again. So, they've had, in that time, they've had some good cup runs,
Well, in the Chelsea match, so it went to penalties. Right, Tony, were you down to take a penalty?
In answer to the question, no.
So you were number 11 on the list, were you?
I think I was 14th on the list. I think Mick McCarthy was. Yeah, but
fantastic.
No, I mean it's one of those ones, Jeff, where everyone you've seen it of late. No matter how good a player you are and whatever it can be an absolutely rewarding position to be in, and it can actually be a crushing position to be in, no matter how good the players are, because shall we say, fans are fickle and the nation's fickle as well. Do you know?
That's true.
Yeah, Tony, I was going to ask you. You talked about Mick McCarthy the last time you were on the show. Thinking of all the managers you played under at the Den, how would you rank them?
The Doc, honestly, the day's long. Mick, obviously, I got all the time from Mick. I had all the time from him because he picked me up from nowhere and gave me a run that people knew my name. Otherwise, up to that, I think I'd played about 280 reserve team games in my time. Yeah, so it's a lot of non-league sides and a lot of opening charity events and whatever. When you're going down, it can be disheartening as a professional footballer. But Jimmy Nicholl and his sidekick, they came and destroyed me at Millwall because they just basically didn't. They brought the Scottish boys down.
Well, Dave Sinclair was the centre back that they brought down. He didn't have any of the qualities that you had, Tony. I can tell you that.
Yeah, the stocky centre half. Yeah, Sinclair. That's it. Sinclair, Crawford, Hartley, and there was one other, Jason something.
Jason Dare.
That's the one. They brought the four guys down, and obviously they dislodged people that were already playing or put to the side. Jimmy Nicholl didn't fancy me and just put me over there, and I'd done a lot of training with, shall we say, Stephen Reed and your famous man that went on to Cahill, Jimmy. I used to take the training sessions for the reserve for the youth team from Mickey Finn used to give me. Say, Tony, take it, do your back, go and work them out for me. And that's what I was doing while they was there as manager. Billy Bonds, because I couldn't run for 15 miles at a time, he took a disliking to me as well. So that was it. Managers, like as you know, managers have players that they look at, and no matter where they go or where they'll bring them with them, they love them, they fancy them, they whatever. But mine wasn't me. It was nothing to do, didn't fall out with anyone. I didn't have a bad word to say for anyone. But on a couple of occasions, I was reported to be on long-term injured list where I wasn't. So that sort of thing when I was there. But that's all gone bye-bye, So.
How would you describe your experiences as playing at the Den and, of course, the fans?
My experience was, I'll never forget. I'll take that to my grave, because at the end of the day, I was, I can't say everyone, but I had, shall we say, a fan following that liked me, and that always helped you at a tough place like Millwall to play as, shall we say, a black player at the time, because I had numerous players that were of colour that used to come to me and ask me, how the hell can you be down at Millwall? They're totally racist. And you know, I never had a bad word to say for the bit because at the end of the day, I wasn't the most gifted of players, but I think the fans understood and recognised when I put the shirt on, I played with my heart and soul as best as I could. So at the end of the day, they appreciated that, and they showed me love that way. So I could never knock them in any which way. The rep that goes before and after, they'll always have that. It's the same as any other club, you know, that's always been in, shall we say, a fighting mood, you know?
They certainly do take you in and take you. It is a lovely, lovely feeling. And yeah, I'm sure they're very proud of you.
Prior to you coming, there'd been one of these stories in the paper, the normal racist rubbish and all that cobblers, and then you come, and then as I say, what happens, right? And it couldn't have been better. You played that 80 odd minutes, right? And when he took you off, you know, and brought on whoever it was, you then got the standing ovation. So as it all worked out, it all worked out perfect.
Well, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it worked out for me. It worked out for the fans, and it worked out for the club as well, because it actually opened up, shall we say, people out from the outside that wasn't at Millwall and didn't know Millwall. They were looking in and seeing and hearing of certain, you know, reports and players going there, and it actually opened up for other players that actually did arrive and come and pass through, and who would have never done that before. Do you know?
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. Oh, absolutely, mate.
Well done, Tony.
Yeah. Another pioneer, the Three Musketeers.
Yeah, who were you, Stan?
No, I'm not.
Oh, right.
It's Phil Walker, Trevor Lee, and Tony Witter, the Three Musketeers.
Okay, then. Yeah. Tony, we could ask you many questions. I've got one for you. How did you end up going to Bohemians in Dublin?
Bose was a mercenary mission.
Was it?
It was when I went to Scunthorpe on looking for a contract. Not really, but I was asked to go up there and do a job. But I don't know if you remember. Well, Jeff might remember because he's old enough.
Well, that's certainly true, Tom.
Yeah.
There was a striker which was a very, very good friend of mine who we followed each other around. We went from QPR to Palace together. Here's one for you, Jeff.
Who is it? Come on, Jeff. Who is it?
Now, come on, I'm nearly asleep. Go on.
Oh, and that boring. Thanks, mate. He used to play up front with a striker called Mark Hateley.
Yeah.
Really? You meant Mark Hateley? Blimey, yes, I remember him well.
No. Gary Thompson, his name was, played for Coventry.
Ah, yes.
Battering ram, centre forward, headed the ball off.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Anyway, Tomo got a coaching job at Northampton, and I met when I went up there and got the short contract up there, playing up there. I met a guy up there who went on to manage Bose, and he got in contact with me and actually then invited me to look. I just need you to come over and do a job for me. So that's why I ended up over there. Nothing more and nothing less.
Oh, hey, you ever been across the sea to Ireland? And Tony Witter has. So there you go. How bad's that then? Can't be bad. Look, Tony, before you go, and we'll have to get you back on again, even if it's just to embarrass Jeff. But before you do go, can you give us a prediction for our game this Saturday? So Nottingham Forest versus Millwall. What do you reckon?
Ooh, Forest struggling at the moment. Hey, I'd say it's a 2-1 away win.
Thank you very much. We'll take that all day, Tony. That's wonderful of you. And it's been that wonderful of you. Thank you for joining us. I suspect we will get a whole host of fans' questions now, which we'll have to store for next time. But all the best to you and yours. But thanks ever so much for coming on.
Thanks a lot, Tony.
Great talking to you.
Just a message to all the Millwall fans who still remember me. Thanks for your support when I was there, and all the best to everyone.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Cheers,
Tony.
Tony.
Can see why they liked you.
Yeah.
See you later.
Hey, we're walking along, singing a song, walking in a winter wonderland. Hey, cheers, Tony.
Yeah.
Well, that was nice, wasn't it, eh? To speak to
Oh,
old
what a
Tony
lovely
Witter
chap.
again. Yeah, he's a lovely bloke. Anyhow, we'll take a break there and listen to the man that does so many great things, including humouring me on WhatsApp, and he is a great fundraiser. He is the one and only Barry Stradlin.
Hello, my name's Barry Stradlin. I'm a Millwall fan all my entire life. I'm doing the London Memory Walk to try and raise some money for the Alzheimer's Society. I'm doing this because I've got close friends with Alzheimer's, I've got a family relation with Alzheimer's. So if you could help me out by going to justgiving.com, fundraising Barry Stradlin, and try and raise as much money as possible. If you can donate some money and also share the link to people to try and get everyone involved in this, to try and help people suffer from Alzheimer's.
I'm Eamonn Barclay and I'm back with a No One Likes Us team of Debbie Julians, Stan Godwin and Jeff Burnige. Can you help to eliminate Alzheimer's? Well, you can by contributing to this cause. Donations, no matter small or large, will help so many people. Next up, we hear from that wonderful lady on the video scene, Ellis Barr.
Ellis here. Thank you for watching my videos. Now to hear what the Millwall Lionesses and Romans have been up to, and to hear who is next up for Gary Rowett and the Lions. Come on, Millwall!
Millwall Romans and their second team, Millwall Pride, had a weekend off, but training was the order of the day instead. Well, I caught up with Paul Loding today. He's the General Manager of Millwall Romans and Millwall Pride last week, and we heard from John and Luke telling us about the first games for both Romans and Pride. Paul, perhaps you'll pick us up from that point.
Hi, Eamonn. How are you doing? You okay?
Yeah, good. Good to speak to you as usual.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me. So we had, as you mentioned, we had a week off this week. Started the season last Sunday. Bit disappointing for both teams, but it was positive that we did have the two teams out. Both teams were playing. The first team managed to get down to South London to watch the second half of the Pride team. And they were playing it really well. Their first game together, knocking it around well, defending quite well. It was just that they just need a bit more practice, I think. And moving on from there, obviously we've had a week off, and then we're against Charlton. We actually host Charlton for the first time at St Paul's this Sunday.
And what time's that?
That's a 3:00 kick-off in the afternoon, if anyone's around.
I reckon there'll be a good few who want to come along and see you play Charlton. You've
Absolutely.
got to keep the record up. No defeat
Absolutely.
in so many years. So you've got to stick in for that one. So don't miss the Millwall Romans versus Charlton at the Salter Road ground at Rotherhithe, St Paul's, this Sunday. Paul, there's this documentary coming out, Football versus Homophobia, and I know you've had some involvement in that. Can you let us know what's going on, what's happening?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we were approached by a person called Sam Clark who wanted to put together a documentary about Millwall and about Charlton. So he's been working with us over the last few months. He's done some filming. He actually came down to the Den a few weeks ago to interview some fans coming out. And it's just a documentary. It should be coming out this weekend, just about what we're about, why we exist, and what teams are doing sort of moving forward about homophobia in football.
Well, that's fantastic. We look forward to that. Yeah, ping us the link for that when it's there, and we'll put that on our social media circulation. So,
Fantastic.
What are Pride up to this weekend?
Pride have also got a week off. They're resting themselves. The week after, so a week on Sunday, will be the first Millwall derby between Pride and the Romans, which will be at St Paul's Sports Ground as well. Not sure on a kick-off time, but that will be our first game against each other officially.
But who's home and who's away?
They can take the home pitch if they want that. They can take the home dressing room.
Okay, that's very kind of you in your capacity as the general manager. One final piece for you, Paul. We're away to Nottingham Forest, new manager in place, and they managed to win their first game last weekend. What do you reckon our chances are? Give us a prediction.
I'm going to go 2-1 to Millwall.
Well, that's splendid, and I hope everyone else, including the team, goes with that as well. Thanks ever so much as usual, Paul.
Thanks a lot, Eamonn. Speak to you soon.
Hey, we're doing all right on the 2-1 predictions at the moment, by the sound of it. Jeff, I understand you were interviewed for this video.
I think I was, but I can't remember what I said, to tell you the truth. But
just to know
what I probably referred to was when John Fashionu's daughter made her own documentary 2 or 3 years ago now, a bit longer, I think, 4 or 5
definitely
years ago.
about 5 years ago.
Yeah, and she wanted to make a documentary about her uncle, Justin, who everyone will remember was the very first player to be to have been out as a gay professional footballer, and who later very sadly took his own life. And typical Millwall, nobody in football would touch this documentary. No one wanted to be involved until she asked Millwall, and then, yes, of course, come down to the training ground, interview the players on camera, and those interviews were carried on that documentary. I still think, once again, Millwall and its fans, we can hold our heads up very, very high. And it's just a great, great shame that we sometimes score our own goals and give the outside world the opportunities to think badly of us when it's completely unjustified.
No, good point. Well made again, Jeff. Thanks for that.
Absolutely.
Jeff, he also follows the Lionesses at all levels, almost ever since the day they were founded. Followed them again last Sunday and brings us his report.
Last Sunday, the Lionesses played their first match after the resignation of manager Katie Whitmore. The combination of the loss of many of last season's team over the close season and the promotion those girls won has inevitably led to a difficult start to this season in the regional Premier Division. The club has appointed assistant manager Alex Russell and goalkeeping coach Greg McAliney to manage the side while the process of selecting a new manager takes place. On Sunday, their first match came after 3 intensive training sessions, and it produced a dramatically improved performance against New London, one of the favourites promotion to the National League. The game was evenly balanced until just before half-time, when we went 1-0 down after a rebound from the post. But in the second half, we had a mad 5 minutes when our concentration lapsed, and this resulted in a distinctly unflattering 4-0 defeat. We had abandoned our 3 at the back system for a conventional back 4, and this benefited from the sound debut of Katarina Peter. We can expect further improvement this Sunday away at Saltdean United and the following week against Glebe in the FA Women's Cup. This latter match will take place in Chislehurst, and we will preview that important match next week.
Oh, there you go. What do you reckon about that then, Debbie?
Oh, absolutely. And guess where I'll be on Sunday? I'll be at Saltdean watching them, that's for sure, and supporting them.
That's very good of you. Stan, any thoughts?
Well, yeah, they're clearly progressing well. I was a bit surprised to hear about the manager of the Lionesses resigning. That's the first I've heard of that. But no, as I said, before when we talked about the Lionesses, right? They got promoted. It was always going to be difficult first season, and it's proving to be possibly a little bit more difficult than anybody envisaged, especially if the managers had resigned. But no, I just think that they just keep chipping away, and they'll get a level, and then then they can build on for that. Wisdom requires the long view, as they say, and short-termism is no good. So I think that at the end of the day they'll be fine.
That's good news. Got anything to add, Jeff?
It's very nice to hear that Debbie will be at Saltdean. I believe it's quite local for her. I'm going to be there as well on Sunday. I think it's important at the moment, while the Lionesses are going through a difficult period, to show maximum support.
Good news. It's the Tricky Trees on Saturday. If you've never heard that term before, that refers to Nottingham Forest. The team have appointed former Swansea boss Steve Cooper to replace the departed Chris Hughton. Henry Statto Morgan has been looking at the opposition and spoke with Forest fan Luke Turton of Turton Talks Football and more. Let's hear what they had to say.
Evening, folks. Welcome to View from the Opposition. This evening we're speaking to Nottingham Forest fan Luke Churton from Talk Forest TV and Churton Talks Football, of which I've been on. So lovely to have you on, Luke. Boots on the other foot this evening.
Indeed. Good to be here. Thank you for inviting me on.
No problem. Millwall travel up to the City Ground this weekend with Nottingham Forest currently bottom of the league, which turns my blood slightly cold because your fortunes have got to change at some time. I believe you've only won one game, but that was your last game. New manager came in today. Summarise your season for me in 90 seconds.
Disastrous. Literally, we've hardly had. We've only scored one goal every game we've played so far, and then conceded 2 in every game bar now. I think it's 3. Our first clean sheet came literally against Huddersfield last week when we won, and Chris Hughton thought it was a good idea to go at games where we didn't score. We tried not to concede, but did that very bad, and then again under Stephen Reid, we went forward more and won. Masterstroke, really, and I'm happy that Steve Cooper's now the manager going into the weekend.
Millwall fans travelling up to City Ground on Saturday, who do they need to be wary of from Nottingham Forest?
But, I mean, you've always got to be wary of Joe Lolly, Alex Myton, Grabban, Lyle Taylor if he plays on the...
Yes.
Zinkernagels looks like a player if we play to his strengths. But again, we don't know with this squad who's going to perform on the day of the championship's unpredictable, really, isn't it?
100%, mate. But has there been anyone so far this season that's played consistently well or consistently average for you, given your league position?
Scott McKenna's been okay. Central defence next to Joe Worrell.
There are lots of unknowns in your team, is what you're saying, because of the formation that you've been playing. Interesting, you mentioned 3-5-2, because that's obviously a formation that Millwall have been lining up with all season, or 5-3-2, depending on how you want to define your wing backs as being, if they're midfielders or other defensive players. Could you see those two formations cancelling each other out?
I think Huddersfield played that last week. We sort of played Brennan Johnson and Joe Lolly next to Grabban, and have started interchanging last week, whereas before it was very much a 4-2-3-1, very rigid. That's the way they played, and the change of system, we've added Figueiredo into the back three. It's a lot more kind of more structured, so then the wider players, your wing backs, can then go forward and not have to worry about being too far forward, and get back quicker.
Is there anybody from Millwall's team that you would be particularly worried about facing?
Jed Wallace and Matt Smith.
But yeah, okay, so look, I mean, I've got to be honest with you getting a new manager today really worries me. New manager coming in, you haven't won at home. People are already on Gary Rowett's back. What is your prediction for the score for the game this weekend, fella? What do you think's going to happen?
I'm going to go with a 2-1 Forest win, purely for the fact it's Steve Cooper, and I think we are going to have to start winning games at home at some point. Unluckily, it is Millwall next, but I do still think we'll concede. I mean, Matt Smith came to us just before lockdown and tore us apart in the first half.
Indeed. The last live game I saw before lockdown, in fact, was that Friday evening fixture.
So, you always have to be wary of a player like Matt Smith. You mentioned Benicophobe there as well. I mean, two strikers that both can really hurt teams on a day and have Forest on numerous occasions.
It will be a very interesting match, I'm sure. Thank you so much for coming on and speaking to us and giving us your opinions. We're going to go over now and listen to what the other guys have got to say about this potential fixture. But can I just thank you for coming on, and after Saturday, good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
What do you reckon, Stan?
Well, it's going to be interesting because, Cooper's going to be their 14th manager. Now, I know, we're going to have a new manager come in, and as normal, you expect a new sort of bounce and all that sort of stuff. And to some extent, I assume that will happen. I mean, I've not seen Forest play of late, so I assume that they're going to be playing better than they are. Now, for me, it depends on how we go about doing our business. I mean, last night, for example, I was particularly impressed by the way we was playing in the first half. The ball, the movement was good, the passing was excellent. And then to me, that's the sort of way we're going to have to play against someone like Nottingham Forest, because that's the sort of football they play. I mean, they've got Grabham up front and Lyle Taylor up front. They've both got pace, and most of the balls will get fed through to them. You won't be jumping in the air from all the time. So no, I'm confident, but it's going to be an hard game because you've got players out there. They're at the bottom. They want to get going. But as I say, it's their 14th manager, and who's to say that we may not have a 15th by the end of the season? I mean, who knows? But anyway, we'll have to wait.
What's the score then? What do you reckon for the score?
Well, I reckon we win by the odd goal, personally.
Okay, Jeff, how about you?
Well, it is the first game under Steve Cooper, and we all know how his team's played at Swansea. We've seen that many a time. It's going to be a drastic change in their system and style of play. It's a great shame that they appointed him and it wasn't a chance for Stephen Reid to take the team against us. His record was very good, played 1-1-1. I don't know if he's even still there now. I know that Cooper will have brought in his coaching staff, including Alan Tate, who some of our fans will remember playing against us for Swansea in Kenny Jackett's day at Swansea. A lot depends on who's available and fit and raring to go for Millwall. Obviously, some players have just come back from periods off. We played a very different team on Wednesday night against Leicester. They really had a go, as Stan said, but we didn't force the goalkeeper into making a save, so we can't overestimate how well we played. Having said all that, doesn't matter who's playing, who's not playing. I fancy Millwall to win at Forest. I really do, and let's hope I'm right. I'm going to go for a score. I think it'll be 1-0.
Debbie, what do you reckon?
Well, of course, these are both my Nottingham. My dad used to play for too, as well as Millwall. So there you go. It's going to be the first game with the new manager. I should think they want to try and impress him. But I definitely go on the side of what I sort of had in my mind and what everybody else has said. Really, is 2-1.
Well done. So it sounds like 2-1 is the score for us to win by. And Stan, of course, is saying the odd goal. We have a prediction, as usual, from Carla Marie Hales, who runs the Millwall Home and Away site on Facebook. Carla says 2-1 to the Lions. We'll take a break there and listen to what the fantastic fanatics can do with a little bit of help from our friends. That's us, isn't it? Yeah, I reckon.
Hi, I'm Richard Gordon, and I'd like to invite you to become a Fantastic Fanatic. Fantastic Fanatics is a great way to raise funds for your sports club. Sign up today, find your club, and securely register your everyday debit and credit cards. Every time you spend with our retail partners, they pay a percentage back to your club. It costs you nothing, and you can win cash prizes along the way. Visit fantasticfanatics.com and help your club be the best it can be.
I'm Eamonn Barclay. I'm back with a No One Likes Us talking team of Debbie Julians, Stan Godwin and Jeff Burnige. It's well worth purchasing items through the Fantastic Fanatics website and rewarding the Mill Community Trust with donations. Our final guests are part of a troupe of persons who include a man who worked in high-end contract catering. It's also enabled him to pursue his love of playing football. Not only were the hours better, but he was surrounded by great chefs who mentored and guided him through his career. He ended up playing a good standard of semi-pro football, which kept him fit, but also required a huge level of time and dedication, as he would play on a Tuesday evening, train on a Thursday, and play again on a Saturday. Unfortunately, he suffered a broken leg in his mid-30s, but he used his time effectively to obtain his Level 2 coaching qualification. It was at this point that he knew he needed to reconsider his future and realise that if he could teach football, then he could transfer that skill and teach cooking. And that is exactly what he does with the Royal Academy of Culinary Arts Adopt a School programme, which has taken him to the Great Ormond Street Evelina Children's Hospital, and he also visits and teaches children at primary and secondary schools, which he loves. Welcome, Ashley Marsh.
Good evening, guys.
Ashley. Hi. How are you?
Hi, Ashley.
All right. I'm very well, thank you very much.
Good. Good.
That's Andy, because we like well people on the show. It really does make a difference. Before we go any further, though, we also have Sean Daly, the CEO of the Millwall Community Trust. And we would like to say hello to Sean too.
Good evening, everyone. Hope you're well.
Yeah.
Hi, Sean.
Hi, Sean.
Hello.
Hi, Sean.
I know that there's three of you involved in this troop together. What is the common denominator between Debbie, Ashley and yourself, Sean?
So I was introduced to Debbie by yourself.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, and we got into conversation around young people and really about coming back about the summer, where we were giving kids food and feeding them during the summer, and then we were giving them a box for them to go and practice cookery skills at home with their parents. And I've always felt that you try and, my role as community officer is to try and develop kids' life skills. And one of them I felt was to have a love of food and being able to be independent and cook. So I threw the idea into Deborah and just said, look, this is something I'd like to do. I'm quite passionate about it. Can we get together and set up a programme that involves football, where kids get a little bit of activity, they learn some life skills around cookery and the love of food. And she pulled in Ashley, and the conversation went even further.
Well, that's fantastic stuff.
Yeah,
Absolutely
it did
fantastic
indeed.
stuff.
It did indeed. So, hi, Ashley. Obviously you know who I am. So we have known each other for nearly 10 years.
Who are you? Who are
Yeah.
you? Yeah, that's it, yeah.
So, Ashley, I'm going to ask the question here. Tell me what drives your passion to educate children in cooking.
Well, I think it's about giving something back, really. I mean, I've been in the industry for 30 odd years. I know I don't sound old enough, but I was working for a firm called Lexington, and their chef director was Rob Kirby, as you know, and he had a link with the Royal Academy of Culinary Arts, which has a charity called Adopt a School that goes into primary schools. So I started doing that voluntary. And then all of a sudden, a position came up, and by this time I'd done my teaching qualification. So I went and worked for the University of West London. So I had a foot in both things, like further education, higher education. But the other side of it, they sponsored me, the University of West London, to work for the Royal Academy and the Adopt a School as a charity to go into primary schools. Because unfortunately, the food education is sort of just bolted on the curriculum. There isn't really any food education. And there's a massive hole, really. And we go into there. We've got this. There are the three of us. Well, there's actually four of us now. We've just got a new chef for different regions. So we've got somebody in the northwest. We've got somebody in the Midlands, and I try to cover London and the southeast. But also our members get involved as well. And what we do is we go into schools. We predominantly do 3 sessions with year threes up to year sixes. We do secondary schools as well. we go in, and our first session is talking about the tastes, the senses, and the food groups, and a little bit of seasonality, and just getting their general knowledge. Then we go back and we do some knife skills, and we create a healthy salad, and then we'll do, depending on what facilities they have, and that's the other unfortunate thing. We are normally in a classroom or bolted in a hall somewhere, because primary schools don't have the facility for catering, to go in and teach catering. So we may do bread, we may do a soup. It all depends really on what time of year it is. And seeing their faces when you go in there, and they've got the hats on and the aprons, there's a real buzz around the school. And it's just basically getting them talking about food, how it's cooked, where it comes from, the seasonality of it, and basically making them ask what they're putting in their bodies. Because when we make these salads and we do this practical stuff, the main thing is I say to them, you know exactly what's gone into that. You're not buying it from a shop. You're not putting it in a microwave. You know exactly what's gone into that and what you're putting into your body.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of the day, a carrot is cheaper than a bag of crisps, and it's so much difference. I think it's amazing what you do.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It really
Listen,
is.
we're not saying you can't eat crisps, but you can't eat crisps all the time. You know, it has to be a flexible. It has to be a percentage of it. You know, I mean, I've been in a school today and seeing their faces when you tell them carrots used to be purple. Originally, and things like that, and also being surprised by their knowledge as well. For some of them, I mean, do you guys know what the fifth taste is?
I reckon Jeff might.
Do I know what is?
The fifth
taste.
The fifth taste. No idea. Illuminate me, please, Ashley.
Right, it's called umami, and it's a combination. And to be fair, my first group today, I did four groups, and the first group, one of the kids in there knew what it was.
Goodness.
And that put a massive smile on my face.
Really?
The other three didn't. Yeah, umami. So it's a combination of salt, bitter, sweet, and sour. So it's a combination of the other. So it's in things like Marmite, soy sauce. It's sort of like a savoury taste. So you've learnt something already today.
Brilliant.
I have. What I'd like to know, though, is what's Debbie's role in this? She's obviously introduced people to each other, but are you active in this project, Debbie, as well?
And I approached John Williams, who's at the Ritz, and he heads up quite a lot with the culinary arts. And we went from there, really, didn't we, Ashley? And
we did. We had a chat. And I came and saw Sean. We had a good conversation. It was nice to see somebody who's just as enthusiastic about it as we are. And I think, is it called Kick and Cook, isn't it?
Kick and Cook.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. And it's basically we go into schools. I'll be coming with Sean and Ashley into, when is it booked? In November, the first one? And so we'll link up there. But it's really Sean can answer this one as well, is to tell these children or inform these children that they matter and what they eat matters, that they could possibly go into the chef's world and would have a great career there, or possibly go into sports or be a footballer or anything they wanted to do. So it's opening their world of what they see at the moment, and it's very important to build that confidence for them.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, we're going in there. They need mentors. I mean, it's amazing when you go in and you've got teachers or teaching assistants and say, "Oh, Billy won't try that." But as soon as they've got a hat on and an apron and they feel they're part of it and they see their peers eating it, they're amazed. I can't believe he's just tried that. But especially, I mean, if a footballer comes in and says, "Oh, I eat this, I eat that," they're going to try it. Believe me. Yeah.
So it's also, Sean, you're saying more about this. It's what these was your ideas, and of course I know the chefs. Sean's idea was obviously to put things onto the website, affordable dishes, cooked by chefs, and then get running through so that people could know what recipes to do that would be affordable, that are on the healthy side, and then going on to cooking with the players, with the chefs, maybe in the chef's restaurant, and that be videoed and put on the website, and then also going on hopefully to do a cookery book with all the chefs and some of the players, so a combined effort.
No, that sounds good. I mean, I've heard old Bart Bielkowski does a wonderful Hungarian goulash, although he's Polish. So we can look forward to something like that then. Yeah. What do you reckon, Sean?
Yeah, I think it's giving kids an opportunity to do something they wouldn't usually do within school. It's going to be difficult at the moment with COVID, with the players going out. So our plan was to bring the players to the school and talk about how they eat, how they cook, and what they need to give them the fuel to play football. So it's going to be a bit difficult for our first one that we start in October. Hopefully, the next lot around Christmas, hopefully, that we'll be able to get the players in. But all we really want to do is just give children an opportunity that they wouldn't get anywhere else. And I think linking, cooking, and then we're going to do some activity as well when they're there. So, they'll do some cooking and preparing, and then we'll take them out on the pitch and do some football outside or some sport.
If you take Ashley out there, he'll be all right. He'll have a go himself. But I think Stan's got a question to ask about that.
Yeah, Ashley, Stan here, mate.
Hello, mate.
Yeah, I understand that you do or you're a semi-pro footballer, or have been. Tell us a bit about that side of your life.
Okay, well, I as a young lad, I had a big, massive fire in my belly, and I wanted to play the highest standard I could. And I came through a small club called Collier Road Football Club, which is in Essex, and they were in the Isthmian League. I worked my way through the youth team, reserves, to the first team. They had a half-decent team. They got to the semi-final of the Vars, I think, a couple of years before that. So their team was getting a little bit older. So I made a few first-team appearances as an 18-year-old. And then the rest is history, really. I mean, I played for them probably, I must have played for Collier Road 200 times. We got to the quarter-final of the Vars while I was there. And then I played for some local clubs called Ford United, Redbridge, East Thurrock, Basildon. Worked around a little bit there. I was involved in the squad that went with Fords that got to the first round of the FA Cup with Preston. Probably about 4 years later, we won the Ryman Div 1 and went up into the Premier. And then, like I said in my little bio, I got to a stage where I was getting a bit older, and I thought, when will I know to give up? Do I drop down the leagues, go and play in the Essex Senior League, which I did, and then I came back up again and tried to play. And then unfortunately, I broke my leg. Well, I didn't. Somebody else broke it for me. But
that was
yeah. So then that's when I did my coaching badges, and I went into. I was determined to play again, so I had the rod taken out of my leg, and I came back, and what was I playing for? I was playing for Barking. Scored, and then I hung my boots up. So that was in the Essex Senior League. Then I decided. Then I coached at Barking, and then me and my pal Jay Devro, who's now the manager of #United, we went to Dagenham and Redbridge when they first went into the football league, and we managed their reserve side. So that was a great experience. Then I gave it up, really. Well, I went to Ilford, and then I gave it up. I ended up coaching my boys' team. And then when you come out of it, it's very hard to get back into it, really. Loads of memories. I mean, travelling to Newbury and Hungerford on a Tuesday night, and the coach breaking down and not getting home till 2:30 in the morning. No one can ever take that away from me.
No. It's almost as good as going to Grimsby on a Tuesday night. I'll tell you.
Well, listen, I'll tell you that when we played that quarter-final of the Vars, that was at Brick, which isn't a million miles from Grimsby.
No,
and we lost 1-0, and they ended up winning the Vars as well. I'm not what I'm going to say.
Can I just
so that was a long journey home.
Yeah, can I just ask you one question? You in all your time sort of playing in the non-league circuit, did you come across anyone who then went on to make it into the professional? that we might?
Well, I actually played with people that had dropped down. I mean, I ended up playing with Adam Dickens in the middle of the park, centre midfield at Collier Road. Alan McKnight, Danny Benstock, who was at Orient, Andy Sussex, who was at Southend. I played against DJ Campbell. Do you remember DJ Campbell? He played up front. I think he went to, was it Cardiff and Leicester?
He played for us at one point.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Well, he never scored against me. But no, I mean, listen, there is a lot of potential there. I mean, obviously it's different now from when I was. I mean, obviously they're all drinking Lucasades, where we were drinking pints of lager after games and stuff like that, and drinking protein shakes. That was just coming in as I left, which is good for the game, you know. But and I look now. I mean, my boy's playing now, and the pace, whether it was as quick as that when I was playing, I don't know. The pitches are a lot better. And there's a lot more money flying around in there as well.
Just a little bit, yeah. Well, that all sounds very good. That seems right up the street of the Mill Community Trust. Always engaging in the education process with young people. And only this week I learnt of the great partnership with Lewisham College to develop young people in the world of media. And now this is about developing people to be good at their what they eat and look after themselves. But that's exactly what you've done, Sean, over the summer camps as well, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. Trying to link in with exercise and then trying to keep the kids active and healthy eating. So this is just another step now once the schools have gone back. So we're looking forward to it. I mean, we've got school lined up just round the corner from the Den. We go in on October the 14th to start, 3 weeks in there. So, and we're going to take in a couple of Lionesses, hopefully, to support us in that.
Oh, well, that'll entertain them. If they're the Lionesses, always good fun. We'll have to catch up with you all once this takes off. We'll do a little bit of a special on that around the school, if that's at all possible. Sean,
no problem at all. Yeah, no problem at all.
And we'll pick it up from there. Well, Sean, lovely as usual to speak to you and see yet another initiative take off. And Ashley, brilliant to hear your story, and disappointed that you wasn't a West Ham fan, because we would have said a few other things. But there you go. But
that was going to be my first sentence.
Yeah, you could be. And I think Jeff's excited at the prospect of learning about good culinary skills as well, aren't you, Jeff?
I am. I'm a lousy cook. So I shall have to speak to you when I get together with you.
That's it.
Pick up a few hints.
Definitely.
A hint's as good as a wink, isn't it, Stan?
Certainly is.
There you go. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Ashley. But before you go, there's always something to pay before we let you go. And this week, it's a prediction for Saturday's game, Millwall at the Tricky Trees, otherwise known as Nottingham Forest. So, Sean, what's your prediction, mate?
I think we'll win 2-1.
Lovely. And how about you, Ashley?
They've got a new manager, haven't they?
You're right.
I'm going to say score draw.
Score draw. Okay. You're the only one that said that tonight, Ashley, so we'll hold it against you if it comes up with that. That's all right. Don't be sorry.
Point away is a good result.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah. It is. Yeah. Let's be hopeful. Good night, Sean. Good night, Ashley. Great for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
Very much.
Good night.
Thank you both.
Bye.
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 I'm going to say something.
You want to say something?
Yeah, I think we should be very, very proud of our Sean and also Ashley. They're passionate, and what they do for the club, or what Sean does for the club, is just unbelievable.
Yeah, he does a lot for the club. Anyway, we'll take a break there and listen to Bethany Warren describing a most helpful app.
Hi,
Hi, Bethany Warren here. Millwall Lionesses have partnered with international smartphone application Be My Eyes. Be My Eyes is an application that truly benefits the poor of sight and the blind, but is supported by those of us that can see.
You might wonder how blind people deal with everyday challenges. Well, normally the answer is simple. We're not that different from you. We play music. We go to school. We go to work. You get the picture. But sometimes the simplest things can be difficult, and we need a pair of eyes.
Connect to first available number.
That's where you come in.
Establishing video connection.
Through your smartphone, Be My Eyes connects the blind with sighted people through a live video connection. Simply choose if you need help or want to help by the click of a button.
That's a nice picture of you and your family, Caroline. Is it for a present? Yes, it's a photo from my parents.
You can help just by installing the Be My Eyes app.
Print image.
And we'll notify you when someone needs your help. And if you're in the middle of something, don't worry. Someone else will step in. So, would you care to be my eyes?
Download the app onto your smartphone now and help those that need your eyes straight away.
I'm Eamonn Barclay and I'm back with another one likes a talking team of a Debbie Julians, Stan Godwin and Jeff Burnige. It is a great app. It serves almost 350,000 blind or low sight people in over 150 countries who talk in over 180 languages, and you can help. People continue to lose their lives to this dreadful virus or as a consequence of suffering with it, as deaths and infections continue and higher numbers are being hospitalised too. Our thoughts go out to their families, friends and those that take care of them. Additionally, please respect the requirements of transport and other locations in reducing the risk of infection to minimise the possibility of further lockdowns. Also, be accepting of the preference of individuals in how they protect themselves.
First of all, let's hear from Harvey Brown.
Have you heard of the Lions Food Hub? It is now located in the Millwall Community Trust car park. That's beside Millwall's Den in Ballina Road. That Millwall Lioness, Kelly Webster, is involved. Don't forget to help the Lions Food Hub if you can. Thank you.
As Harvey said, they need support and you can help if you can by making a one-off or a regular monetary donation online at Banquet, that is BANKUET, or on a Saturday, you should make donations pre-match at the hub about 50 metres down from the Lions store. Alternatively, you can also contact the team via their Twitter and Facebook sites. And what about sponsoring a player? Enjoying a great Executive Lounge VIP package with family and friends, or just getting behind the club in a number of different ways, and that includes business propositions from advertising to sponsorship. Just contact the lovely Andrew Stead in the commercial department to find out more. Good night.
Next week, Gary returns on Friday 8 p.m. to host the Thames and Medway Cruises show. That's James Kelly, Ted Robinson and Henry Morgan, from a trio of water admirers on a panel to game changers. The Proper Blokes Club continue to amass an incredible following and their walks take on some fantastic strolls. Come along and join Scott Johnson, their leader, in breaking the stigma of men's mental health on any of the walk and talk groups, and there are a good few, which also follow water courses. There are regular walks from familiar locations. Just check out the Proper Blokes Club on Twitter and Facebook for arrangements. Good night.
Don't forget, everybody, player sponsorship for the Lionesses is available this season. Why not share the burden between a few of you or even a couple of companies? If you can give them some added support, you can find details on their social media. Just put Millwall Lionesses into your browser and it will come up. Millwall Lionesses will be very grateful to hear from you. And with that, I will say good night.
Lastly, let's not forget to keep it safe on the streets out there. Don't forget, you'll be able to listen to the No One Likes Us talking team bring reports from our games, both home and away, and updates on Mill Community Matters too on Maritime Radio, broadcasting on 96.5 FM. Well, that's it from me. Thanks, Debbie, Stan and Jeff. But before I say until the next time, why not listen to the first of the new Millwall No One Likes Us Talking monthly podcasts? Links are on our Facebook and Twitter social media and our Spreaker platform and all other popular podcast sites. And that is good night from me too.